So today we're talking about property division. How do we divide assets? Who's going to stay in the house? Who leaves? How do we value the house? How do we divide other property like cars, boats, timeshares, checking accounts, money market accounts, 401ks, pensions? Today we're going to go through all of that with you. We're going to talk about equitable distribution, and with equitable distribution, there's 4 things that the court will do. We're going to identify the asset, we're going to classify it as marital or separate, we're going to value it, and then we're going to distribute it. Come on, I'm going to show you how we're going to do it. So let's talk about classification of property. We set up 2 goalposts. We've got date of marriage and we've got date of separation. Anything that you owned before you got married is your property. Anything that you purchase after date of separation is your property, unless it was purchased with marital assets. Everything in between is considered to be marital, and it's subject to an equitable distribution or 50-50. So let's talk about a house. If you bought a house before you were married and you never did anything to mess that title up, in other words, it's in your name, it's still in your name, and you never put your spouse's name on it, it's probably totally your house. But if your spouse helped you pay down the mortgage, they might have a small marital interest in it where they could claim some reimbursement for the reduction in principal. However, if you refinance and you put their name on the deed, that might be a gift to the marriage. So one of the main and important things in property distribution is marital classification to determine whether it's marital property or separate property. We also have to value the property. So with a house like this, I would have an appraiser come in and give me a formal appraisal of the house to determine its value. And then we're going to determine what the payment is on the deed of trust as of the date of separation, and we're going to assign that property to either the wife or the husband. A court cannot make you sell property. You can agree to sell it, but a court will either divide it by giving it to husband or giving it to wife. So if this house were worth, let's say, $500,000, and the deed of trust on it was $400,000, we've got $100,000 in equity. So if wife gets that house, then she's going to have to trade off property worth $50,000 to husband, or make a payment to husband for the half of the equity that's in it. She's also going to have to be refinanced and indemnify and hold harmless the husband from payments on that mortgage. So in talking about property division or equitable distribution, the most important thing you need to remember is that claim has to be filed before you get divorced. Once you are divorced, you cannot bring an equitable distribution claim. If you don't do equitable distribution, then property vests based on title. So what this means is, if I'm the husband and I have a pension worth $1 million, and I actually represented somebody that had this situation, and I get divorced and there's no equitable distribution claim, I get to keep that entire $1 million pension. But if an equitable distribution claim is made and it's proper, then I have to account for the marital portion to my wife for that $1 million pension. So, you know, if I've worked at the place the entire time that I've been married, she get half. If I've worked at the place longer than I've been married, then she only gets that marital fraction. It's called a coverture fraction under North Carolina law. In the 9 steps to divorce that you downloaded back on day 1, we gave you a list of things that you needed to do. And a lot of that is targeted toward collecting documents that will allow us to properly identify the property, classify it as marital or separate, value it, and then distribute it. I strongly recommend that you hire an attorney to help you with the equitable distribution claim. It requires words of art, and if you don't make the claim properly, it can be dismissed. With equitable distribution, once you make the claim, the parties are required by North Carolina law to go to mediation. So each side goes to mediation with their attorneys. And when we represent folks, about 95% of the cases settle at mediation. And that's largely because we go prepared as if we're prepared for trial. So we go in with a notebook that's just full of deeds, full of NADA values, appraisal reports, everything. So we can sit right there at the mediator's office with the opposing party, and we can get to the bottom of what is the property, what is the classification, what's the value, and how should it be distributed. In those small percentage of cases that don't settle at mediation, we take them to trial, and then it's up to the judge. And the judge will make a decision about those issues. The judge can also award property in a form that's different than 50-50. They can make an unequal distribution. There's about 14 factors that the judge has to consider in determining whether to make an unequal distribution. Those can be considered, and a judge will sometimes make an unequal distribution. In my experience, you tend to get a 50-50 distribution. And that's all I've got to tell you about property. We'll see you back and show you the next video tomorrow. I hope you're getting something out of this video series. Take care.